Haredi Jews, also known as ultra-Orthodox Jews, are a rapidly growing segment of Israel's population. As of 2023, they number approximately 1.33 million, making up 13.6% of the total Israeli population. This community is characterized by its strict adherence to Jewish law and traditions, often living in insular communities to minimize outside influence. The Haredi population has a high birth rate, with women averaging 6.6 children in 2020, contributing to their fast growth. In simple terms, the Haredi birth rate is comparable to the highest national birth rates globally, such as African countries, and is significantly higher than the birth rates in most developed countries, including South Korea and the United States. They are expected to double in size much faster than the general population in Israel and other countries. Haredi men can be typically seen wearing black suits, white shirts, and black hats. Many Haredi Jews avoid using modern technological devices such as smartphones, the internet, and television to prevent exposure to secular influences. Marriages are often arranged through matchmakers, and couples typically marry young, between the ages of 18 and 21. Large families are common because they generally view contraception as contrary to the commandment to be fruitful and multiply. Haredi Jews live in close-knit communities with their own synagogues, schools, and community organizations, often limiting interaction with non-Haredi Jews and non-Jews to preserve their way of life. The Haredi movement originated in the 19th century as a response to modernization and secularization among Jews in Europe. Key figures like Rabbi Chaim of Voloshin and Rabbi Yisrael Meir Kagan united various Jewish sects to preserve traditional Jewish life. The Holocaust decimated Haredi communities, but survivors established new communities in Israel and the United States. After the Holocaust, many Haredi Jews migrated to Israel, significantly influencing its politics and society. Today, Israel hosts the largest Haredi population, estimated at 1.2 million, with the United States following at around 700,000. This migration and settlement have made the Haredi community a significant force in Israel's demographic and political landscape. The Haredi population in Israel is experiencing rapid growth. This community has a high annual growth rate of around 4%, driven by high fertility rates and low mortality. Haredi women have an average of 6.6 children, significantly higher than the Israeli average of 2.9 children per woman. This demographic trend has substantial implications for Israel, including increased demand for housing, education, and social services. The Haredi population is projected to reach 16% of Israel's total population by 2030 and could constitute over 20% by 2040. This rapid growth poses challenges for economic integration and social cohesion, as the community traditionally has lower employment rates and relies more on state subsidies. The Haredi community in Israel faces significant economic challenges, with 44% living below the poverty line, double the rate of the general population. This high poverty rate is partly due to low employment rates, especially among Haredi men, of whom only 51% are employed compared to 86% of non-Haredi Jewish men. Haredi families often rely heavily on state subsidies and welfare, with 26% of their total income coming from government payments. Haredi women have higher employment rates at 78%, but many work part-time in low-paying jobs, such as education, which further contributes to economic instability. The community's dependence on welfare and low workforce participation create a substantial economic burden on the state and highlight the need for better integration into the labor market. This is because the Haredi education system in Israel focuses primarily on religious studies, with boys often receiving minimal secular education. This system includes institutions like Talmud Torah and yeshivas, which emphasize Torah study over subjects like math and science. As a result, many Haredi men face challenges integrating into the secular job market due to a lack of relevant skills. However, there has been a notable increase in higher education among Haredi women. Between 2009 and 2022, the number of Haredi women in higher education rose by 235%, with 80% of Haredi women now participating in the workforce. Despite these gains, only 15% of Haredi women and 8% of Haredi men pursue academic degrees, highlighting ongoing educational and employment disparities within the community. Haredi political parties, such as Shas and United Torah Judaism, play a significant role in Israeli politics. Shas, founded in 1984, primarily represents Sephardic Haredi Jews, while United Torah Judaism, formed in 1992, represents Ashkenazi Haredi Jews. These parties have been pivotal in forming coalition governments, often tipping the balance in favor of right-wing parties like Likud. Haredi parties have secured substantial state funding for their educational institutions and social services, and they have influenced legislation to protect their community's interests, such as military draft exemptions and religious laws. Their support for Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu has been unwavering, making them key allies in his right-wing coalition. This political influence has led to significant shifts in national policies, including increased funding for Haredi institutions and changes in conscription laws. The exemption of Haredi men from military service in Israel dates back to 1948, when Prime Minister David Ben-Gurion exempted 400 yeshiva students to preserve Jewish scholarship after the Holocaust. Today, this exemption has expanded to tens of thousands, with 66,000 Haredi men exempted in the last year alone. The Supreme Court has repeatedly ruled this system discriminatory, demanding legislative changes. Public opinion strongly favors conscription, with 70% of Israeli Jews supporting the end of blanket exemptions. Politically, this issue threatens to destabilize the government, as Haredi parties, crucial to Prime Minister Netanyahu's coalition, oppose changes to the exemption laws. The lifestyle and values of Haredi and secular Israelis differ significantly, leading to social and cultural tensions. Haredi Jews adhere to strict religious norms, including gender segregation in public spaces and events, which contrasts sharply with the more liberal and secular values of many Israelis. Incidents of conflict include protests against military conscription for Haredi men and public demonstrations by secular Israelis demanding equality and integration. In 2023, protests against judicial reforms highlighted these tensions, with secular Israelis fearing increased religious influence on state policies. These ongoing disputes underscore the deep divisions within Israeli society, as both groups struggle to reconcile their differing visions for the country's future. The future of Haredi integration in Israel presents several potential scenarios. By 2050, Haredim are projected to make up nearly 30% of Israel's Jewish population, posing significant challenges for economic sustainability and social cohesion. High birth rates and low employment among Haredi men could strain the economy, with 44% of Haredi families already living below the poverty line. To address these issues, reforms are needed which almost seem like an impossible task.